coming forward, start by telling you this time of year we think about New Year's resolutions. And I was thinking about it, and I kept reading everywhere about how everything is bad for you. Everything we do seems to be bad, right? I mean, you can't eat this, it's bad. Too much sugar is bad. Foods are bad. You can't breathe. The air is bad. You can't drink the water is bad. I'm reading this, that, and the other. Everything is bad. And so I'm thinking in fact, yesterday, the day before, they came out with an article I read that said that alcohol, even a little alcohol, can give you different kinds of cancer. And so my New Year's resolution, I'm going to stop reading. At least that kind of stuff. So what are we celebrating today?
New Year's.
What?
New Year's.
The Epiphany or whatever.
What did you say?
The Epiphany.
The what?
The Epiphany.
He said the Epiphany, and he said New Year's.
Yeah, very good. Epiphany, what does that mean?
I'm pretty sure it's...
How many syllables in Epiphany? It's a big word, isn't it?
It's like 3.
No, it's 4, actually. Yeah, who counted for Epiphany? What? Yeah, but guess what? The church gives us, because they want to help us understand, it helps us by giving us a 5-syllable word to understand it. So Epiphany is the word, and the way we understand it is manifestation. And what do you think manifestation means? Yeah? If you get this, you're going to get a special prize. Yes? Manifestation. It's okay.
It means love Jesus' birthday.
Love Jesus' birthday? Well, I like that, but it has to do with Jesus, so it's close, yes?
Manifestation is like that.
Well, it's a guess. You can guess.
Maybe it's like the coming
You're on the right track, yes,
of the
Scarlett?
second coming of Jesus.
The second coming of Jesus? He's just coming the first time now, right? Manifestation meaning he becomes man. God becomes man. God comes into this earth and becomes man, and we see him, right? That's what that all means, and that's what we celebrate today, is really the recognizing of God among us, God with us, right? And now we talk about the wise men. How many can tell me where they're from?
No, wait. I'm just gonna say, East Asia?
East Asia? Well, we're getting there, yes. They're from Bethlehem? No, they were on their way to Bethlehem from
The northeast south.
the northeast south.
All right, good job.
Yeah, somewhere around there. That's narrowing in on it, yes. Where?
Egypt.
Egypt? I'm going to tell you guys something. No one knows where they're from. The only thing we know is they come from the east. So northeast, south, you were close. They come from the east. In fact, what the original scripture says is they come from where the sun rises. Right? And where does the sun rise?
The East.
And it sets where?
The West.
So they're coming from the east, going toward the west. Now, what are they? We call them 3 kings. What are they, these 3 people?
Wise men.
Huh?
3 wise men.
They're wise men? Yeah, they were wise, educated. Okay, what else? Matthew in the gospel today calls them Magi. What is Magi? Any idea what Magi is? Yes?
Maybe someone
Someone who's intelligent? Well, you're intelligent, but it specifically means a particular kind of a study or person, yes?
like religions.
No, you study religions? No, but study is important, yes? How about astronomer and astrologer? That's what it means. Magi means, especially at the time of Matthew, when he wrote the gospel, it meant astronomer and astrologer. What are astrologers? What do they do, an astronomer? What do they do? What do they study?
They're the ones who are really connected with space. Or no,
With space.
astronomy.
Yeah, in fact, I like to use the term that they followed a celestial light to find the divine light, right? Mm-hmm. So they study the stars, they study the heavens, right? What's up there? Now, they followed a star. Does anybody have any idea what that star is?
The star of Jesus when he was like born, like that.
Yeah,
no,
but what
born.
created the star? What created that light in the sky? Because they actually think they know now. Yeah.
No.
God.
God. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's a good answer because God created everything, right? So that's a great default answer. When somebody says, "Where does this come from?" God. You know, where do I come from? God. That's a good answer. Don't ever forget that answer, right? God created everything, including the bright light in the sky. Do you know what they believe it was? 2 planets. The planet of Jupiter and the planet of Saturn coming together by getting very close to each other in the area of Pisces, up in the star constellation. That created such a bright light. It happens every now and again, but in the years 6 and 7 BC, so around this time, it was very close. The 2 planets were very close. And even Pope Benedict writes about how they believe that probably was the bright light that they followed. Isn't that something? Now, who created the planets?
God.
God. Exactly right. So the bright light was brought to us by God. So here these astrologers are studying the heavens. Now, what are they looking for? What do you think is making them want to study the heavens? Yes? What is a basic question we ask? Where did I come from? Do we ask that question? Who am I? Who created me? That kind of thing. We want to know about who created the world. We have people arguing about did it start, how it started. Pardon me? You have a beautiful dress. Let's just keep it down. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, God created that too. And so we ask those questions. Well, the astronomers, the Magi, were probably asking the questions, where do we come from? And they were people who studied. They wanted to know really who we are and where we come from. Yes.
God.
We come from God. And they knew that. They wanted to find out more about God. So one thing we know about them is they were not Jewish. So what they did was they read, because the Jewish people believed in God, they studied the Jewish writings. And that's where they found the writings like we heard today in the first reading. Who read the first reading today? Good. I'm going to give you a smaller word for dromedary. You tripped over dromedary. You want to know an easier word for that? Camel. Camel. So, and that's why you'll see camels sometimes with the wise men and things like that, because it's in the scriptures. So Isaiah is writing all about how they, where we find God, and God, the Messiah, is going to come. So these wise men, these Magi, they're thinking, I want to know where we came from. I want to know about God. They're reading the Hebrew scriptures we call the Old Testament, and they're hearing that a Messiah is going to be born. And in the reading you read today, talked about the great light. God was going to show a great light. I just told you what it was. And do you know that they followed that light, right? So again, they're following a celestial light to find the divine light, because we call Jesus the light of the world. I want the topic of my talk this morning to be the 4th Magi. We know of 3, right? Does anyone know their names? No? Balthazar, Melchior, and Gaspar. You want to know something? Nobody really knows, but those are the names that were put on a mosaic that one of the Caesars, Justinian, had built in the 6th century. But really, we don't know their names. The gospel today, Matthew does not mention their names, but those are the names that we give to them. So they're searching for truth. They're searching for God. They're reading everything they can as they're searching. But my topic title is the 4th Magi. Who do you think the 4th Magi is?
There is one.
Who?
There is one. There's a 4th one.
There is one? Well,
I didn't know there was like the 4th one.
Well, guess what? Nobody says there's 3. The gospel doesn't tell us there's 3. There's no place that says there. You know why we think there's 3? How many gifts they give?
3.
3. That's the only reason we think there are 3 Magi. because they gave 3 gifts. Well, maybe, they went in on them together. Maybe there were 6 of them, and we don't know. The bottom line is. So I'm going to suggest there's a 4th Magi. And guess who it is? No, it's you. It's you and it's me. And what that means is, what did I tell you they were doing? They were searching for God. They were searching for meaning. Do we ever do that in our lives?
Yeah.
Do we ask ourselves, where is God? Who is God? What should I do to follow God? So we're being like the Magi. And then what did the Magi do when they found God?
They gave him gifts.
They gave him gifts. So if you're the 4th Magi, what gifts would you give God? Yes?
A pretty wreath.
A what?
A pretty wreath.
A pretty what?
Leaf.
A pretty leaf?
Wreath.
Oh, wreath. Wreath, like a wreath, like a Christmas wreath? Well, that's a very thoughtful gift. What else? What would you give God? If you came across God, what gift would you give God?
A chalice.
You'd give him a child, you'd go grab a child down the street at
No, a
7-Eleven?
A chalice.
A chalice, you'd give him a chalice. Okay, good, yes. The what?
Faith in him.
You'd give him your faith? Well, that's good. The best gift we can give somebody is something that they don't have, right? God created you, right? But God gave you free will. So what does God not have? God does not have you unless you give yourself to God. So the best gift that you can give God is your faith. The best thing we can give God is our talents, our abilities, our time, our talent, our treasure, who we are. Giving that back to God is the best gift that we can give. So as the 4th Magi, we find God, we search for God, we find God, and then we give ourselves to God by doing what?
Trusting in him, giving him our faith.
Trusting in him, giving him our faith. What else? How else do we do it? Yeah.
A Bible.
What?
Giving him a Bible.
Yeah, very good. What does it say in the gospel today? It says when the Magi were leaving after they found Jesus, what does it say about how they left? Who read the gospel? Oh, Father read the gospel. Well, it says they took a different path. You know what that means? That when you find Jesus, you're looking for Jesus, you're looking for God, you find Jesus, and once you know it's God, you take a different path. Your life changes. You go in a different direction. So as the 4th Magi, you give yourself to God and you change. You act different. You talk different. You maybe don't pick on your brother and sister as much as you were before. Maybe you're nicer, or you offer your parents, you say, I'm going to clean up after meal today. Or let me help you with the laundry today. You act different, talk differently. We change. We take a different path. That's what we learn from the Magi. Does that make sense? So you're the 4th Magi. You, as a gift, when you find God, you give yourself to God. You give your faith to God. You give your lives to God by changing who you were into somebody that you know God will love. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, any questions for me?
No.
I'm going to tell you something else. This is a beautiful setting. Here's our 3 kings, our Magi. Did you know that they're always right there when Jesus is born? And you buy all these sets, and they really weren't there then.
Yeah.
They showed up when he was probably about 2 years old. But when we go to Walmart and we buy our sets, they all come together as a package. So they're all there. But they eventually showed up, but it's not quite accurate that Jesus is a baby. Does that make sense? Okay, so any questions about, first you seek God, then you find God, and then you change your life by giving yourself to God. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, go be the 4th Magi. Amen? Amen? All right, thank you kids very much.